Space is trying to kill you, not you specifically, but anything at all that dares to exist in the wrong corner of this galaxy. We like to imagine alien worlds as distant cousins of Earth, blue oceans, strange sunsets, maybe something breathable. What we have actually found is far worse. 5 worlds so extreme, so violent, so utterly incompatible with existence as we understand it, that they make our most catastrophic natural disasters look like mild weather. These are not theoretical. These are confirmed, studied, and documented by some of the most powerful telescopes ever built, and every single one of them is out there right now, doing exactly what they do. Silently, relentlessly, without mercy. Let's start with the one that looks like paradise from a distance. HD 189733b sits 63 light-years from Earth, in the constellation Vulpecula. At first glance, from the cold safety of deep space, it looks almost beautiful. A rich cobalt blue, the kind of blue you might mistake for a tropical ocean world, the kind of color that makes you think of somewhere warm and inviting. That color will kill you. It is not water catching the light. It is silicate particles, tiny razor-sharp glass fragments, suspended in clouds and driven sideways by winds that reach 5,400 miles per hour. That is 7 times the speed of sound. 7 times. On Earth, a Category 5 hurricane reaches maybe 180 miles per hour. On HD 189733b, that would barely qualify as a breeze. The glass does not drift gently through the atmosphere. It moves laterally, horizontally, in a continuous horizontal storm that never stops and has never stopped. The planet is tidally locked, one side permanently facing its star, one side in permanent darkness, and the temperature difference between those 2 hemispheres drives the atmosphere into a constant, screaming rage. The day side bakes at over 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. The night side is slightly cooler, but not by enough to matter. There is no shelter, there is no calm. The entire planet is wrapped in a grinding, never-ending sandstorm made of glass, moving at 7 times the speed of sound, heated to temperatures that would melt metal within seconds. And then, in 2024, scientists confirmed something else. The atmosphere of HD 189733b contains hydrogen sulfide, the same compound responsible for the smell of rotten eggs. So the glass rain comes with a stench, a hot, sulfurous, murderous atmosphere, beautiful blue from orbit, and absolutely lethal in every measurable way. It is one of the most studied exoplanets we have found. And the more we study it, the worse it gets. Now, imagine something eating a planet, not a metaphor, literally pulling matter off the surface of another world, stripping it down, swallowing it piece by piece across millions of years. That is happening right now, roughly 1,400 light-years away, and we are watching it. WASP-12b was discovered in 2008. It is a gas giant, about 1.4 times the mass of Jupiter, and it orbits its star at a distance so small it completes a full orbit in just over 24 hours. 1 year on WASP-12b lasts 1 Earth day. That proximity alone is catastrophic. The star's gravity pulls on the planet so violently that WASP-12b has been stretched into an egg shape, tidal forces distorting it across its entire structure. The planet is not a sphere. It is a bulging, deformed mass being squeezed and pulled out of shape by something it cannot escape. And it cannot escape because WASP-12b is in orbital decay. The orbit is shrinking, measurably, documentably shrinking, at a rate of 29 milliseconds per year. That sounds like nothing. It is not nothing. Every single orbit, WASP-12b falls a little closer to the star that is consuming it. Astronomers at Princeton University confirmed in 2020 that this is the first time we have ever directly observed a planet in the process of spiraling into its own sun. The math gives WASP-12b roughly 3.25 million years before it is gone, completely swallowed, incorporated into the star that has been killing it since the day we found it. What does that look like? The star's outer atmosphere is already making contact with the planet. Gas and matter are being actively drawn off WASP-12b's surface, pulled away and consumed. The planet has a comet-like tail of stripped material. It is being eaten alive, slowly, across geological timescales, and there is nothing that could stop it. Not gravity from another body, not some escape trajectory. The death sentence was written into the orbital mechanics the moment this planet formed. And 3.25 million years from now, WASP-12b will simply stop existing. There is something deeply unsettling about a planet with a countdown. But if WASP-12b is being unmade from the outside, the next world on this list is something far more personal in its violence. This one boils rock. Not melts, boils. The surface is so hot that solid stone vaporizes. 55. Cancri is a super-Earth. That classification sounds reassuring. A bigger version of our world. What it actually means in this case is a world nearly twice Earth's width, 8 times its mass, and so close to its star that it completes an entire orbit in just 18 hours. 18 hours. At that distance, on the side of the planet facing its star, temperatures reach 4,400 degrees Fahrenheit. That is not a temperature at which things burn. That is a temperature at which things stop being solid. Rock, granite, basalt, the same material that makes up Earth's crust, melts at somewhere around 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. At 4,400 degrees, it does not just melt, it boils. It turns to vapor. The surface of 55 Cancri is a global magma ocean, not scattered pools of lava, a planetary ocean of liquid rock churning across the entire sunlit face of the world. The MIT temperature mapping, done with the Spitzer Space Telescope, confirmed the average dayside temperature at around 4,400 degrees Fahrenheit, with the night side dropping to roughly 2,000 degrees. Which means even the cooler side of this planet sits at the melting point of rock. There is no solid surface on 55 Cancri. You would not land on it, you would sink into it, and then cease to exist in any recognizable form within seconds. The James Webb Space Telescope then detected something that made this stranger still: an atmosphere. On a world this hot, astronomers had not expected one to survive. But 55 Cancri appears to have a thick atmosphere, likely rich in carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, driven by the volcanic outgassing of its endless magma ocean. A world that boils its own surface generates its own sky. It is geologically alive in the most violent sense of the word, and the gases it breathes out are the same gases a planet exhales as it tears itself apart. 3 planets in, and not one has offered even the shadow of anything recognizable. But the next entry operates on a completely different kind of terror. It is not heat, it is darkness. Complete, absolute, almost impossible darkness. Tree ES-2b is 750 light-years away, and it reflects less light than a piece of fresh coal, less than black acrylic paint, less than almost any material you can hold in your hand. Its albedo, the percentage of light it reflects back, is less than 1%. The best-fit scientific models put it closer to 0.04%. For comparison, Earth reflects about 30% of the sunlight that hits it. The Moon reflects around 12%. Tree ES-2b reflects essentially nothing. It was the Kepler Space Telescope that confirmed this in 2011, detecting a change in brightness of just 6 parts per million as the planet passed behind its star, the smallest variation from an exoplanet Kepler had ever measured at the time. And what those measurements revealed was a world that should not be as dark as it is. Tree ES-2b orbits its star at extremely close range. It is tidally locked, broiling at over 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to vaporize sodium, potassium, and possibly titanium oxide, all of which are known to absorb visible light. That much is understood. What is not understood is why those chemicals alone do not fully account for the blackness. Tree ES-2b is darker than current physics cleanly explains. The atmosphere absorbs light with an efficiency that goes beyond any single identified compound. Something about this planet's chemistry, something we have not yet fully untangled, turns it into a perfect void. It sits in its orbit, absorbing almost every photon that touches it, giving back nothing. From a distance, at the right angle, you would barely know it was there. It does not glow. It does not shine. It simply exists in the dark, like a hole cut into the sky. There is something ancient and primordial about pure darkness, something that bypasses rational thought and goes straight to instinct. Triggers that instinct. It is a world that refuses to be seen, and scientists are not entirely sure why. Now we reach the one that redefines the word extreme in every direction. If the previous 4 planets felt like different flavors of catastrophe, Kelt 9b is catastrophe running at maximum settings. It is, as of our best current measurements, the hottest planet ever discovered. Not just hot for a planet, hot compared to stars. Kelt 9b sits 670 light-years from Earth, and its dayside temperature clocks in at approximately 7,800 degrees Fahrenheit. Our own sun's surface temperature is around 9,900 degrees Fahrenheit. Kelt 9b is not a star, it is a planet, but it is running at roughly 80% of the surface temperature of our sun. Most K-type and M-type stars in the galaxy burn cooler than Kelt 9b's atmosphere. A planet, running hotter than entire categories of stars. At that temperature, molecules do not survive. The kinetic energy in the atmosphere of Kelt 9b is so violent that chemical bonds are ripped apart. Water cannot form, not because there is no hydrogen and oxygen, but because the molecules are destroyed the instant they assemble. Carbon dioxide, methane, the nitrogen compounds that fill our own atmosphere, all obliterated. What remains in the air of Kelt 9b is a plasma-like soup of individual atoms, stripped of their molecular partners, existing in a state between gas and ionized matter. Spectroscopic observations have confirmed the presence of vaporized iron, vaporized titanium, neutral oxygen, and other heavy metals floating freely in the atmosphere. Not as compounds, not as minerals, as free-floating atoms torn apart by sheer heat. Iron rains, not in drops of water, in drops of vaporized and recondensing metal falling on a world so hot that the very concept of chemistry has been suspended. The planet orbits its star in just 36 hours, and the star itself, KELT9, is a blue-white A-type star burning at nearly twice the surface temperature of our Sun. This planet should not exist. The radiation environment alone, the UV and X-ray bombardment it absorbs every hour of every day, would strip a planet's atmosphere away in cosmic timescales. KELT 9b is believed to be losing mass from its upper atmosphere constantly. It is being evaporated, slowly, by the very star it orbits. But it persists. For now. Radiating heat like a failed star, raining iron, existing in a state of permanent atomic chaos, if you stood on a hypothetical solid surface, which does not exist, the sky above you would glow, not with starlight, with the heat of the atmosphere itself. The air would be luminous, the planet would be its own light source. A world so hot it glows from the inside. 5 planets. 5 completely different versions of catastrophe. Glass storms moving at 7 times the speed of sound. A gas giant being consumed by its star, its orbit shrinking year by year. A magma world where the ocean is made of boiling rock. A planet so dark it barely registers against the void of space. And a world hotter than most stars, where iron vaporizes in the open air and chemistry itself breaks down. What each of them tells us separately and together is the same thing. The universe is not built for life. It is not built against it either. It is simply indifferent, producing worlds of every conceivable extreme in every corner of every galaxy, with no preference for the habitable and no shortage of the lethal. We found these 5 planets because we were looking, and in the looking we confirmed something that every great astronomer throughout history has quietly suspected. The cosmos does not care, and it is far stranger than we were prepared for. Here is what stays with me. We have confirmed over 5,000 exoplanets, 5,000, and the ones that stand out, the ones that make headlines, the ones scientists keep studying, are almost never the quiet, Earth-like ones. They are the monsters, the glass rain worlds and the iron sky worlds and the planets being slowly devoured, which raises a question worth sitting with. If these 5 are among the first extreme worlds we found, what are we going to find when we look deeper? What is out there in the 300 billion star systems of this galaxy alone that we have not even pointed a telescope at yet? Tell me in the comments which of these 5 you think is the most terrifying. I genuinely want to know your answer, because this group is harder to rank than it looks. If this sent your mind somewhere interesting, hit the like button and pass it along to someone who needs their perspective on the universe properly adjusted. And make sure you are subscribed, because next time we are going further out and looking at something that makes even KELT 9b look stable. The universe is bigger than our fear of it, but only just.